Good morning from Jefferson Firearms. This is Carrie, and I have with me Tom Cusack, and we are going to be talking about knives today.
Good morning. I'm Tom Cusack. I call myself a backyard bladesmith because I basically make knives in my backyard. I do a variety of knife styles, and I also do forged knives as well as stock removal knives. So when Carrie asked me to come, we had a little bit of a discussion on what we should talk about. So first, what we're going to talk about is various popular grinds these days, just so you'll have some way to determine what kind of grind you might be trying to sharpen. This first one is a flat grind, and it's pretty much a triangle. So it starts at the spine and goes down towards the tip into a point. Now the Scandi grinds become very popular because the Scandinavian people have been building these for a long time, and they're real traditional outdoorsmen. And a Scandi grind is similar to a flat grind, except that the grind stops after about a quarter to a half an inch. And then we have the hollow grind, which is actually done on a wheel, and so it's got the center rounded out. And what that's supposed to do is lighten the blade weight. Okay? Now my favorite grind is the Scandi grind, or the flat grind. And I've bought a couple of different knives just to talk about knife sharpening and knives in general. So first thing I'd like to cover is here's a knife that I made out of 15N20. Now this knife to me is sharp, and what I mean by sharp is it'll cut a paper towel without any perfs, and we can cut leather with it pretty simply. Okay. And we can probably shave the hair off our arm, although that was not my intent. So I call this a working sharp. And that's if you're an outdoorsman, where I think you need to be, because razor sharp sometimes can be fragile, and you don't want to have a blade failure when you're in the woods. So I brought a couple of knives that my partner, Chad Redding from Ruck Rabbit Outdoors, has used quite a bit. Now this particular knife is what we call the Michaud Forest knife. It's a design that I came up with. It's got a Scandi grind. Chad's been beating on this thing probably for 6 months. And when I say beating on, I mean that literally. He puts it into wood and batons with it. He breaks down small tinder with it. He uses it for a variety of tasks. Right now it's sharp, but not real good sharp. And we'll do a little test and see what it looks like. So it's not too bad. So after 6 months of abuse by Chad, if it can still do that, that's pretty good. That's holding up pretty good. Now this knife is 80 CRV steel. And then we have one other knife that his son Chase, who's in training to abuse knives and doing quite a good job. We were out at a bushcraft event the other day. I don't know if that's going to show up, Carrie.
Let me see. Yep.
Well, okay. But that blade got chips in it. We're not sure what he did, so there's a very big dull spot there. The rest of the knife is pretty dull as well, because as I said, he's taking lessons from his dad. Yeah, see, this is
Oh, wow.
not cutting paper. So, how do we sharpen a knife? Well, there's a variety of things you can do to sharpen a knife. You can use some of these mechanical devices, and they have electrical equipment that you can use. Some are belts, some are stones. My word to anybody that's unfamiliar with them is don't use that as your first course of sharpening, because when you go across a belt or a round stone like this, if you sneeze in the middle, okay, you're going to have a big divot in the edge of your blade. Yeah. Okay.
And metal, you can't put it back on.
You can't put it back on. Okay, so what I'm suggesting today is there's a couple of things you can use to sharpen your knives. And Wayne Goddard, who was a master bladesmith, took a picture one time of a box of stones. I have that same box. I didn't bring them with me. So what I've, sort of settled on is this India stone. So this is a medium. I also have a fine. This medium is about 320 grit. The fine's probably around 600. And then I have a couple of other pieces here to help smooth things along. This is a Arkansas soft stone. And this stone and this stone, they're around $15 on Amazon, eBay, your hardware store if you've got one.
So, what is the difference between an India stone and an Arkansas stone?
India stone is completely handmade.
Okay.
Arkansas stones are usually from novaculite, which is mined in Arkansas, and that's why they're called Arkansas stuff or hard stones. And the makeup of the rock determines the grit of the stone. So they come in soft, hard, ultra hard.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you say handmade, like it was hand chiseled?
It's manufactured, I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay. So
Machine made.
India is machine made. Arkansas is
mined. Okay. And then, they cut them out and flatten them. So
okay.
This starts out as some material that they all put together into a magic mixture, and you end up with this man-made stone.
Okay.
So there are some other mechanical things that can help you sharpen your edge or at least maintain it. This is called crock sticks. And the crock sticks go in at a 20 or 25 degree angle, and you basically do this. And that will clean up the edge if it's got a reasonable edge on it, and it's easy to use. They clean with Comet or SOS. We've just taken this knife that wouldn't cut anything. We hit it with a couple of swipes, and
now it's cutting.
It's improved significantly.
Does it matter the direction when you're sharpening? No. Okay, so you could push if it's easier for you to push?
Sure. It's easier to drag it because you can get to the tip better.
Okay. So that's why you usually see people dragging.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that's another handy device. And then Spyderco makes ceramic sharpening stones.
Okay.
And these are really for a final edge. So you've sharpened your knife, you're satisfied that it's sharp, you want to just get that little bit of more, you can use your Spyderco stone. And then the last things we have are steels.
Okay, and what is a steel used for?
A steel is if you've got a decent edge and you just want to touch it up, what it does is it realigns the micro serrations that are along the edge.
Okay. So the stuff that we can't see that might impact whether or not it's cutting well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And this is just a version of the crock stick in pocket form.
Oh, okay.
It's called a dog bone. And you basically, because it looks like a dog bone.
Right.
And you basically hold it like this, and that's it.
Okay.
All right. And the last thing we have are strops. Now, you don't have to get crazy with strops. This is an old leather belt. You can use compound if you're so inclined, or you can just use it alone. You can glue it on a piece of wood. You can put it on a bench top like this and just strop away. And what that does is helps to polish the edge a little bit.
Okay. What does polishing do?
Polishing makes the sharpness a little more refined.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to think of it like the difference between a carpenter's rough cut saw and what would be a finishing saw. One's got closer teeth together, one's got teeth further apart.
Okay.
Okay, they're both saws, they both cut wood.
Okay.
One cuts it finer, one cuts it coarser.
Okay.
Okay. So strops are a handy thing to have. I have all different kinds. This one's got compound on it. This is another piece of old leather from sheath leftovers. And they're handy to have. You can use a nylon belt. You can use a leather belt. Just pull your knife out.
You can use, so you don't have to use leather.
No.
So why, like, as a just person who doesn't know anything about knives, think that it has to be leather?
Because predominantly these things were made out of leather.
Okay.
And so it's just sort of like that carryover thing.
Okay.
What kind of strap do you need? Leather strap. I actually have one that's nylon or nylon canvas, and it does a great job.
Okay. But it's the same kind of thing where it's just polishing the...
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's just refining the edge. Okay, so now, why don't we talk about really trying to sharpen something like this poor knife here that's been abused.
Okay.
So we're going to try this on our India stone, and what we're going to do is you get all kinds of people telling you all kinds of different concoctions that they like to use on their whetstones: water, oil, kerosene, honing oil, etc. Well, I prefer WD-40 because it allows the stone to form that slurry, which is helpful in the sharpening process. Okay. It provides lubrication so that it makes it simpler to sharpen. Okay, and it's predominantly made of fish oil, so it's not as caustic as some of the other petrochemicals.
Right.
Okay, so frequently people are intimidated by this process because they're like, but I don't know what angle to make my knife at, and I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Does an angle matter?
It does, to the extent that it has to be consistent.
Okay.
And it should be close to 20 degrees.
Okay.
And so how do we figure that out?
That's a great question.
Okay, so if you take your knife and you take the spine of the knife, which is the back.
Okay.
That's 90 degrees.
Right.
That's 45 degrees.
Right.
Half of that is 22 and a half. So if it's just less than that,
okay,
you're close to 20 degrees.
Okay, so you don't have to be like a visual geometry master to do this. Okay.
No. And there are cheater devices that go on stones or are built in. So it's got a piece of plastic here or metal that's at a 20-degree angle, and then you just do this.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm usually impatient when I'm sharpening knives, so I just want to get it sharp, and I don't want to go with all that stuff. So we're going to take a couple of strops here, because that's a pretty big nick that Chad Redding's son Chase put in there. I call them the Destructo crew when it comes to knives.
Gotta have a hobby, right?
True story. I made Chad a knife. He wanted a particular style knife called a Kephart style. So I built him the knife, and at the time I lived in New Jersey, he lived in Pennsylvania. So about 4 hours after I give him the knife, I get this video on my phone. And it's a video of Chad beating the knife through a piece of frozen oak.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I was a little scared, to be honest with you.
But it held up?
Oh yeah, no, he's done that repeatedly now.
Oh my gosh.
So
this doesn't have to be an hours-long endeavor.
No, not at all. So
okay. Because that might be also a misconception that a lot of us have, that you have to sit there and sit there and sit there. But this was what, 30 seconds, maybe a minute?
And honestly, the way I make my knives is I grind them so that it's almost a 0-degree edge, so that when I go to sharpen them initially, it's usually about 6 swipes on each side, and then I hit it with the strop,
okay,
and it's sharp.
Oh.
So,
because you go for a working edge, you're not looking for the gourmet chef.
Right. Now, if I were making chef knives, I'd be doing something different.
Right.
Okay, but I'm not making chef knives, so it's okay.
Right.
And,
Oh, wow.
See, that's significant.
Bring this back over to you couldn't see that on camera. So after 30 seconds to a minute, we went from not being able to cut it to kind of, sort of, to perfectly well.
And then we'll just hit it on this strap a few times just to see if that'll help to refine the edge a little bit. And as you can, I'm not doing anything scientific here, guys. It's really this simple. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so you can see the difference. That has no perfs in it, and this one has a little bit of perfs in it. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference in the edge being refined or not.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's not time consuming, and it doesn't even have to be an expensive endeavor where you spend hundreds of dollars on equipment.
No, I mean, today we've used one stone and an old belt.
Yeah.
So $15 for the stone. I don't know what WD-40 is. It used to be $2.99. Now it's probably $6.99.
Yeah, it's probably more.
Okay, so yeah, WD-40, a medium India stone, an old belt, and you can get it sharp like we did relatively quickly.
Nice. Great. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to stop by Jefferson Firearms and we can put you in touch with Tom. You can also find him at TD Cusack Knifesmith, TD Cusack at Comcast.net, and his phone number is also on this business card. Let me put it up where the camera can see it.
And we also,
if it'll go into focus.
We also have knives on the Ruck Rabbit Etsy shop.
Oh, Etsy.
Yes.
Let's
And
see. How do I not have a card for him? Oh, well. Oh, there he is. So Ruck Rabbit, if you were here for Customer Appreciation Day, Ruck Rabbit, Chad was here doing tours around the yard, which I still have yet to have because we were busy.
And just so you folks know, I mean, this knife is a condor knife that you can't buy because Chad bought a blade for it, and I put the handles on with the red liners because he wanted something different for his son for Christmas. Okay. I told Carrie this knife is made out of special steel. It's called OTS, Old Truck Spring. Okay. So people say, you can't make knives out of old metal. Well,
you can.
You can. And because we don't want the linear people in competition with the circular people, here we have a knife that's been forged out of a Honda coil spring. The hardest part is getting the coil out. But if you have any questions, give me a shout, look me up. I'm here local, and I enjoy making knives.
And he loves talking about them. So if you have any questions, he's a very patient and willing imparter of knowledge. So I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we'll see you soon.